When you closed the connection in the half of my sentence and wrote me info about wrong energy for the session, I began to talk with another liberated thing, advised by you in one of your previous videos. Recently we talked about how my things went with you, and she did not understand the case either. Seemingly her head is broken just the same way like with your one, so I think she should understand your reason more than I do, but she does not. So this is where I totally lose the clue. I can be talking with another enlightened one without problems. I can be asking here, and nowadays you even begun to answer me. I was paying you well, treating you fair, without expectations, and still I'm not allowed to ask you in private. I have lots of questions. Most of them it would be slow and very frustrating to ask them in this way, and you liberated guys are very different universes. After talking with her, I still want you too more than before. Why cannot we talk privately? Why is my wrong energy so important to you? Why do I have to be open to be allowed to ask you? Be happy if your God lets you to be that. But that thing fucking hates us all. I can't really remember that much. Honestly, open I hung, I forget your name. If I remember about our session, I just felt you had a lot of anger, and you can donate to me as much money as you like, but I'm not here to be spoken to without respect. And please, I'm happy to refund you all the donations, because nothing's going to make me speak with someone that's not treating me with respect. And that's that. You'll most probably argue and say that you were being respectful, but if I felt energetically like there was lack of respect, then that's my prerogative. There just felt a lot of anger, and it felt like your anger was directed at me. And I don't think it was directed at me. I think that there is a lot of anger in you, and I think that's something that you need to address and look at. And there's so many techniques in which I teach you guys, and I speak about going into your feelings. So that's something you can do. And when I feel like you that anger has dissipated towards authority, I mean, you'll see me the same way that you see God, really. So you know that hatred and that anger that you've got towards God, that's how you'll see other beings. That's the way your mind's dividing at the moment, that you're a victim to this external force. And really, even though you're not conscious of it, all other people, liberated people, non-liberated people, you'll be constantly seeing the world like that. That's your projection, that you are a victim to it. And I offered you refunds. I can't really remember our conversation, but I'm happy to refund any donation that you've given me. If you have given me any donation. I don't even know. I don't really know. It's a long time ago. And this is more than likely going to hurt you. And you're going to feel outraged. How dare you? How dare she? I am the victim here, and she has to give something to me. And this is the mentality of humans. They always feel victim, and they feel that they're owed something by life. And what I often find, that when people come to my talks, or even with one-to-one sessions, like, people have a dynamic where it's like, it's such a weird dynamic. It's like people feel owed something, like life owes them something, like entitled. I think it's a very Western thing in our society. Just spending this last month in India, you just see so much hardship on people. It's so hard for them to make a living. And they're so grateful for such tiny things. And in the West, it's like the opposite mentality, because there often is enough, even though I don't agree with the way our society's set up. The mentality is that people feel like life or society owes them something, and that they've been victimized by it. You're victimized by your family, by your parents, by your lover, by God, by me as a speaker, and none of it's true. It's just the way your brain has got used to producing thoughts and producing stories, and you most probably picked it up genetically and then from your parents. Always complain and find negative in situations, when really everything's a gift. In every instant, this life, like drinking the tea, it's a gift. It's just a mentality of the seeker. Like, that's a gift. This air you breathe is a gift. But most people don't look at it like that. They're like, I deserve this air, I deserve this drink, I deserve this computer, I don't have a good enough computer, this isn't fair, I want more. They're not even conscious of it, but that's their mentality. Their mentality is always finding the negative. People are so incredibly negative, especially the United Kingdom. I always laugh every time I come back into the UK, because a few years ago, I hadn't been back to the UK for, maybe like 5 years ago, I hadn't been back to the UK for 2 years. I'd been in Australia. And I came into the UK, and the first thing I saw was a big board that says, now if you're English, you'll find this very funny, do you have any complaints? So it wasn't welcome to England or welcome to Britain or Britain welcome you. Do you have any complaints? And then you see a massive queue of English people off to go and have a complaint about something. It's so funny. It's a mentality that we teach to each other. It's a way of communicating. Oh, the weather's bad today, or this person did this, or politics. And so it's a mentality that we teach to each other, and then it's part of being separate, because what the mind does and what thinking does is a problem-solving mechanism. So we develop thinking. So if you've ever seen Jungle Book, it's so beautiful when Mowgli, forgot his name, can use his tools. We can think to work things out. So we see a problem, we can think about it, and we can work out. And that's what thinking is designed for, and that's all it's designed for. But what happens when we identify is we're identified with thinking. So everything about us and who we believe ourselves to be in thinking is about problem solving and seeking. So we see ourselves as something that's in some sort of problem or dilemma. So when we watch films, it's all about problems or dilemmas, what we should do with the next move. And it's always about working stuff out. And because our society, and because we feel separate, so we feel uncomfortable, it kind of always goes negative. We get more and more negative about life and about things, where really everything is a freaking gift. Everything, every moment of this. Why? So this is from the same person, Open Ihan. Why can I not just spit the gift back in the face of God? What a victim you are, Open Ihan. When was I asked about this gift, whether I want it or not? What pity you have on yourself. So that's the way that you want to walk around, is constantly in that negativity and that dark way of looking at stuff. So I say all these things, I point out your negativity to you and the reason that I didn't want to speak to you, and your response is, why can I not spit it back in God's face? I'm sorry for the hardships that's happened to you in your life. I know that that mentality doesn't come from always things being positive, but that's part of life. It grows and then it's destroyed. It grows and it's destroyed. Your hatred of life is from wrong interpretation of life and wrong interpretation of yourself. It's not actually because of life. It's your interpretation. And that mentality just will breed more suffering and more darkness. There's no point to it. It will get you nowhere, but you've got to see that. It got you nowhere with me. I rejected you. I'm not interested. Because you just project that onto me as well, because I'll become the new thing that you're battling against. But this will take a lot of work, so you have to go into your feelings. You have to see the feelings that are associated with life. You have to go back to when you first felt victimized, because it's not true. And part of being part of the human experience now is seeing through the lies of the mind. You know, Khaleesi, my dog, she's not had the easiest of life. Sometimes, just having come from India, she's from Thailand, and I'm very compassionate. It might make me cry about the animals. I have a big thing for the animals. And, you know, I see the dogs there, and I think about Khaleesi and the life that Khaleesi was given. It wasn't an easy life. You know, dogs in Thailand, their life expectancy is 2 years. 2 years. And I saw her beaten up by other dogs, her flesh ripped open, her hair wouldn't stay on because there was this bacteria in Thailand that made dogs' hair fall out. I saw her hit with spades by Thai people, by brooms. And even when she came to me, I didn't exactly want her. It was nothing personal, Khaleesi, but the last thing you want to be given is a street dog whose hair is falling out, who's covered in ticks, and you don't even really have a permanent home, so you're always traveling, so taking a dog is not a very wise thing. You know, and so the whole first period that she was with me, I was trying to find her another home. And then, eventually, when I agreed to take her, I had to bring her back to Europe. She had to go on aeroplanes for 3 days. And then, you know, a street dog to being a domesticated dog was a hard thing for her. I had to be super harsh owner because her tendency is feral behaviour. She's not had the easiest life, and I see her scared of a lot of things. Just my mum hoovering is quite a shock for her. And people moving too fast, I can see her flinch in fear. But she never, ever once pities herself or feels sorry for herself. She doesn't think I was the dog that nobody wanted. I was the dog that was left to die. I was the dog whose family was run over in front of me. She never is like that. She always responds with innocence to everything that happens. Even when she's scared. Like, so the other day, I bought her a new seatbelt because she sits in the front seat next to me in the car. I put it on. It scares her, so she just sits there and starts vibrating. And so I know that with a dog, when they get scared, you just have to break it. That's all you have to do, is just break it. So you have to just do something. So I invite her onto my seat. So she's excited then to go on my seat. Then I put her back on her seat, and then she's excited to go back to her seat. And she's totally clean again. She's like, yes, let's go, let's go, let's go. But the human, because we believe we are somebody in time, we build this thing. This shouldn't have happened to me. This is bad. This is unfair. And the energies become so strong in our body. Why does it always happen to me? Life is cruel. Life, and the truth is it isn't cruel or fair. It's life, and life, the way that life is appearing at the moment, is one form moving to another. So you grow, you eat meat, you eat fish, you eat chips, you eat vegetables, you eat grains, and you grow. So you take other forms, and it's not unfair you're doing that. That's just in part of life. The grain doesn't sit there and think, this is so unfair, I've got to be their food, I've got to go through their digestive system, and then I've got to come out of the arse in the toilet and then go into the sewage. This is so freaking unfair. The grain doesn't think that. It's just part of it. The grain gets digested and then becomes body. But the human lives in the mentality that I deserve life, that who I am in this form, and it's unfair if I don't permanently stay this form. And it's unfair if I break a finger, if a dog eats my finger, or that I die even, or that I'm born, or that I watch other people suffer. And so then you begin to live in that mentality, and that's what your life is shaped with. Everything, everybody that comes into your reality, you see them through that belief system. You see their unfairness, they're selfish. They always want pleasure. Of course they do. They're human. They always want pleasure. And you always see that unfair story. So when that's happening, so as a separate person, when that's happening, what you have to do is you have to go into that feeling. See it for what it is. See what your mind's doing. See the feelings that you're trying to avoid. Don't look out there for the answer. Go in. Ultimately, there's no in and out, and that will eventually be seen. But at the moment, go backwards. Don't look out there, the teacher's God for freedom. Look inwards, because that's where the freedom is. And the freedom is that which never moves, that which never leaves, because everything else comes and goes. This body will soon be food, or eventually will be food for the insects or for the dogs or whoever it is that eats this body. There is nothing that's permanent, nothing. And this body is always changing. It now is beginning to be tea. If I drunk tea, I would just become a big tea bag. If I just was like, for a couple of days, I would just suddenly combust and turn into a tea bag. And I'd be a square tea bag. And our thinking is relevant, so it's relevant in our society that we understand the concept of fairness. That's a great thing to live by, fairness. I wish that our society would be more fair to its environment and animals. This is my big passion. Because when it is, you'll know that then humans are being fair to themselves as well. Because what they do to the environment and the animals is just reflection of their mind. So fairness is a brilliant concept for us to live by. But it's not a truth, and it's not a reality. You've got to understand the other side of life. But this is an aspiration, which is beautiful. An aspiration to live with the least amount of footmarks on the planet. What a beautiful aspiration. This isn't truth. We've made up the word fairness, we've made up the word footmarks, and ultimately it's irrelevant. And knowing both of those is beautiful. So I'm not negating the relative world. I'm not negating fairness. I'm not saying go out and be evil. I love the idea of kindness and beauty and fairness and justice and trust and equality. I love all these things, and I think it's beautiful. And I think all of us in the human world, in the personal world, can always be doing things to live up to that more, including me. Constantly educating myself about stereotypes and biases and discrimination, which I'm susceptible to. Nobody is outside of that. We're all susceptible to it when we live in society. So constantly updating that information, looking for new ways to break down our ideas and break down our barriers and to unite as a society. But you have to, in order to do that, To really do that with a clean heart, you have to understand the nature of reality, that ultimately all of these words only exist in the human world. There is no truth to them, and they're only aspirations, and they're not a destination. They're not a destination that we can get to. Life is constantly moving and in flux, and we can't make anything permanent. So we can't make a permanent, peaceful society. That's not a reality. You know, you finally get to the peaceful society, and then a massive thunderstorm comes, knocks down half the village, traumatizes people, and people are up in disarray again. But if you don't have the belief that the peaceful society is a destination, is something that can be permanent, then there's the acceptance of that, and the moving on, and the starting again, the ability to start again. And then move and move and move, seeing that there is no destination, there is life happening. It's just constant flux and evolving and change. And that's the beauty of it. You don't want all of this to be the same. If it was the same, you'd never be able to see anything. God, I can talk, eh? That's why I'm a Gemini. Who did give me this mentally? This is from Open Eye Hun. It's not anyone in particular, it's a billion factors and circumstances.